Hello and welcome to Pillbology. This is an intermediate level tutorial that can be found in the intermediate section of the YouTube channel. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe and like the videos and or leave any comments or feedback. Today's tutorial is going to focus on the past tense and more specifically the perfect tense. This is the most common and most generally used form of the past tense in German, and certainly one that every learner of German will need to be able to recognize. Okay, let's get down to it. In order to form the past tense in German, we need two things. Thing number one is a verb, and it's going to be either haben or sein. Thing number two is what is called a past participle. So, what on earth do I mean by that? A past participle. A past participle takes the root of a verb. For example, if we take the verb spielen and we knock off that ending, we are left with the root. That is the beginning of the past participle. The only other thing that we need to add to it is a g. That signifies the past tense. There are other affixes, they're called, or prefixes that you would stick here sometimes. For example, if you used besuchen, besuchen means to visit. The past participle will be besucht. But in this case, we're going with g, so gespielt, and then an ending, t. Now, there are only ever going to be two endings. You will either have an en ending or a t ending at the end of one of these words. It is just literally a case of learning which one's which. And that will come with practicing the verbs as you're learning them and using them in the past tense. Not to panic, there's only going to be two. Right? It's this en or the t. Okay. So, in this case, in this example that we've got, gespielt, we bring the Spiel down, the root, and then we are left with gespielt. So, gespielt means played. Now, in German, we wouldn't just say, I played football. If I ask you what you did at the weekend, you say, I played football. I played football with some friends. In German, we would say, I have played football. All right, so let's just break that down briefly now. I have, in German, is ich habe. Now, my sentence was, I have played football. But here's the rule. This past participle, this gespielt, must always go at the end. No exceptions. The past participle goes at the end. So if we then know the gespielt goes here, take a wild guess at what goes in here. That's right. Fußball or tennis or whatever else it is, your Karten, if you're a bit of a card shark. Karten. The other bits of information go in here. So, ich habe starts out the past tense. The gespielt is always at the end. And then what it is that you played goes in here. Okay? The same rule applies for whether you have visited someone or you've eaten something. Okay? If you wanted to say, I ate pizza or I have eaten pizza, you would say, ich habe Pizza gegessen. Now you'll notice that with that example, and I will clear that up now, with the pizza, ich habe Pizza, with capital P, gegessen. Okay, so you can see for the first time an en ending, right? So it's either going to be the T or the en. Now in this case, the verb to eat is essen, and we've just glued a G on the front, but we can't say geessen. There's something missing from here, and so that thing that we need was the extra G that we put in. There's an exception, as I say, to every rule. That's just how it is with this particular verb. I just wanted to show you one that has that en ending. So ich habe Pizza gegessen. I have eaten pizza, or I have pizza eaten. The past participle always goes at the end. No exception to the rule. So let's move our pizza out of the way. So that is how we form the past tense using that first verb, haben. So what is the point of having this sein? Well, I'm going to zoom you right out and shove this over in the corner whilst we do this, because this is one of the most common mistakes that GCSE level students make in their written and spoken work when it comes to forming the past tense. Okay, the time that you use sein, the circumstance in which you use sein, is when you are changing location. They're called transitive verbs. When you use a verb to say that you're going from one place to another place. So you want to go from A to B. That's when you use sein. So in English, for example, we would say, I am going. So that am, I am in German is ich bin. Ich bin. So let's just select the pen. So ich bin. Well, the same thing sticks with the past tense. Ich bin. So if I want to say I went or I drove, let's use drove. I drove from Berlin to Cologne. We would have the ich bin von Berlin nach Köln gefahren. So, let's look at this very quickly. We have got the past participle, which always goes at the end of the sentence. We have got the ich bin, and then we've got all the other information that we need as far as where we went from and to. If you just wanted to say I drove, we don't need that information that's junked out in the middle. We would just say ich bin gefahren. How did you get there? Ich bin gefahren. So let's just look at another example. Let's use the verb gehen. Gehen, as you may or may not know, means to go. So the past tense of to go in English would be I went, or you went, he, she, it went. Okay, so if you want to say I went to Cornwall, for example, we need the ich bin. We would say, I'll do this in blue, nach Cornwall. And what comes at the end? You guessed it, the past participle, which in this case, the past participle of gehen is gegangen. Think of a gang of people going somewhere. There's a gang of youths walking down the street. There's a gang of people walking down the street. A gang of people went down the street. So, ich bin nach Cornwall gegangen. I went to Cornwall. Was hast du am Wochenende gemacht? Now, the question, was hast du am Wochenende gemacht, literally means, what have you done at the weekend? Or what did you do at the weekend? Was hast du gemacht? So that takes the haben and the past participle of machen, which is to do, which is gemacht. Was hast du am Wochenende gemacht? What did you do at the weekend? So that uses the haben. And the answer, in this case, uses the sein. Ich bin nach Cornwall gegangen. I went to Cornwall. You would probably say I went to Cornwall in the sense of I drove to Cornwall, which would be ich bin nach Cornwall gefahren. Okay, so we come back to this gefahren. Gegangen is also perfectly fine. It shows that you know that you're using the past participle with the initial kicker. Let's call this the kicker verb, for argument's sake. Okay, so there we have two different ways of forming the past tense. Now, I'll just recap. Shrink this out the way and get rid of it. In German, to form the past tense, we need two things. Thing one is either haben or sein, and thing two is the past participle. You can recognize the past participle in most cases by the fact that it's got a g at the beginning, then you've got the verb, and then you've got an ending. It's either going to be an t or an en. That's it. It is that simple. A further rule for the verb sein, when we've got the sein, the ending is always going to be, the ending of the past participle is always going to be en. No exceptions to the rule. So the only time where it's going to change is if you're saying ich habe. Okay, so that is the difference between what is called a transitive and an intransitive verb. Transitive meaning you're transiting from one place to another, you're physically going somewhere, and therefore you need the verb sein. Ich bin, du bist, sie, es ist, wir sind, ihr seid, sie sind. That is the difference. That is the common mistake that's made in GCSE. You have no excuse now. So if there's any other questions, then please leave them in the comments box below, and I will post up a link to the other forms of the past tense in the description box. If you're finding the videos helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And again, any questions, queries, or any other videos that you would like, or any feedback that you have for me, stick them in the comments. So, till next time, cheers.